everyone. I'm Steve Martin, and today we're taking a break from our usual Freedom Journey series to bring you something a little different and very exciting. I'm joined by my friend Clyde Pilkington, a dedicated Bible teacher and author who has been passionately sharing the message of God's grace and sovereignty for over 5 decades. Today, we're going to explore some of the unique ways Clyde has been reaching people through his ministry, the challenges he faces, and how we all can be a part of this important work. We'll be diving into a special project that's close to Clyde's heart, a study Bible designed to bring clarity and insight to those searching for answers. This is an opportunity for you to hear firsthand about the impact Clyde's ministry is having and how you can get involved. Clyde, can you give us a brief overview of your journey and how it led to your current ministry?
Over 50 years ago, I started my serious study of the scriptures, and as I did, I began to have more questions that I couldn't seem to get answers for, and those questions just really grew over the years. And trying to find answers to those questions became quite challenging. Seems like I couldn't, as I would ask the questions, people who I thought should have known the answers didn't seem to even understand my question, let alone be able to provide the answers. And so these 5 decades have been an attempt to find these answers. And thankfully, I rejoice now, some 50 years later, in being able to have the answers to my core questions. You know, I don't know all the answers to the scriptures, but I know all the answers to the problems that were key to me in my life. And so over time, as I learned these answers, I began to share these answers, and I began to write about them. And so this is just the bird's eye view of how we got to where we are today.
All right. So what are the key components of your ministry today, and why are they important?
Yeah, well, as I said, as I started learning these answers, it became important to me to share them with others. I've always taught publicly for all these 50 years, but I also then began to write and record this information because that's an important way that I learn, and an important avenue in my studies is written material. And so 35 years ago, we started the Bible Students Notebook, and we put that out. It originally was just a random periodical. Whenever we had enough material to produce one, we did. But over the years, as we learn more and more, and there's more and more material to share, and we have located over time more and more resources from the past where people saw and understood certain things that are important to us, then we began to produce the Bible Students Notebook on a more regular basis. And after a few years, it became a monthly, and then it was twice a month, and now, of course, it's every week. And we're working in I think the BSN I'm currently working on is 1047. Anyway, so that's a lot of periodicals, and it's really the core and the foundation of everything that I've ever studied and learned, and all the things I've gleaned, all the precious truths that I found that other people have written about. They all find themselves in the Bible Students Notebook. So we have 40. Well, we're finishing up the 42nd volume. We put 25 issues in a volume, and I look back over that, and I look at that set of volumes sitting on the shelf, and it's hard for me to believe, that we've made this journey. Then 25 years ago, we started sending out a daily. We called it daily email goodies. And so those have been going out daily for 25 years, except for maybe the occasional electronic disturbance of some kind. But and those are opportunities to share just a really like a one paragraph or two of some truth that is important to us, and to also keep folks up to date with our books and so forth. Um, and then, of course, we started earlier this year with working on, well, I guess it was actually last year, we started working on, in conjunction with Mark Vogt, we started working on a curriculum because we began to realize that it's hard, when someone who's new to these things that we hold as dear, how does a person like that get from A to B to C all the way to Z? How does a person catch up? I think it'd be overwhelming to look at 42 volumes of the BSN and figure out where to start, and or even just to get the daily email goodie, just these little random paragraphs that probably don't tie in their mind and make sense. So we were introduced to the need of some consistent presentation. What seems to be the first principle and second and third. And so Mark Vogt's doing a wonderful job, and we're assisting him in that, working together with our BSN editorial team, and that's showing up in the BSN. And then just recently we started putting these lessons in booklets, and they'll be online, and before long people will be able to take these courses. So these are, and then of course we can't forget the videos, such as our Freedom Journey and the conferences and the many videos that you're making out of BSN articles and so forth. Your role in producing these videos is tremendous. So these are the avenues: the BSN, the videos, the daily goodies, the curriculum. These are ways that we are attempting to share the great truths that have changed our life.
In addition to all that, you've printed and released a lot of books. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. It's, again, that's hard to believe. I look back some 20 years ago, and we didn't have any books. We distributed books that I found helpful to my own life. And we've been distributing books since 1980, but they weren't our books. But in the course of the last 20 years, mainly using the Bible Students Notebook material, where I write articles and we run articles in the BSN from others, we've been able to compile those and articles along the same theme. And so I have some 40 books now myself, where I deal with different subjects. And then we have probably about the same amount of books that are compilation books, articles from all kinds of different articles on the same theme. And these compilation books are, there's not too many days I don't go by thanking Father for the privilege, the trust in being able to put those out. The printing press has not been around that many years, and where you could have books some 600 years. And the themes that we discuss, the uniqueness of those themes, I'm well aware that there have never been books like these compilations on the dispensational and sovereign look at prayer, dispensational look at subjects like the Lord's Supper and the being born again, and the absolute sovereignty of God in relation to the salvation of all. Just books that have never existed in this way in history, and it's very humbling. So yes, literature's become a big part, and we have some 500 books, over 500 books in print. And now a big majority of those, quite a few hundred of those, are facsimile reprints. So over this past 5 decades, as I found books that I thought were beneficial uh, to me, and to realize they're not even in print anymore because I find them at used bookstores, um, and one source leads to another, and you find about a book, and so we've been honored to have the privilege of keeping these books in print, these resource books, and as a result of all these ministries, in fact, we have a large communication with people. We have people ordering books every day, and we have new people ordering books every week. We average about 3 new contacts for book orders every day, let alone people who've ordered before. And so, between all these different means uh, and methods, there's a tremendous amount of people being ministered to. Those who read the Bible Students Notebook and are familiar with it will see our mailbox in the BSN, letters from our readers, and again, it's quite humbling to see how many people are affected by a goodie every day, or a BSN every week, or the books. And in fact, some of us who are working in the editorial process of the BSN think, man, if we had these resources when we started out, how blessed we would be.
So, what are the biggest challenges you're facing in your ministry right now?
Well, the biggest challenge that I'm facing in this ministry is time, um, and the response that we're receiving. There's just not enough time in a day to be able to do what is before us. I have more than I can do, and we have. And first, one of the things I want to be sure, to share right up front here in this aspect is that we've only been able to do. Let me let me get real personal here. I've only been able to do what I've done the last 50 years because people have stood with me and supported me and encouraged me financially and in a physical way in laboring with me. And there is a wonderful group over the last 50 years of people who have joined in to help me with the Bible Students Notebook, help me with the books that we have and editing them, and people who have stood with me financially, that gave me the time and the resources to be able to share the truths that we have. And the fact is, there's been this there's been this crossover. Early on, when I didn't have all these resources that the 50 years of study has produced, I had so much time to study and so much time to work on reading and studying and writing and producing, and also my family was young. Well, I mean, when I started, I didn't even have a family. I mean, of my own, obviously. I had my parents, but but then I got a family, and we got children, and then the children helped me in the work, and And as time has moved on, um, what started off as, pretty much it was my ministry, and then it became a family ministry, and then over time it's almost become my ministry again, because obviously the children grow up and they have their own lives and they get families and careers, and so the help that I once had as far as a family ministry has greatly diminished over the years. But at the same time, the material has increased. There's more BSNs out there, more daily goodies out there, more books out there, more videos out there, and this corresponds to greater communication, people reaching out. And to be honest with you, and this is not in it to be a reflection, anybody listening to this who reaches out to me, I please don't stop reaching out to me. But the amount of phone calls and emails and orders is frankly uh, beyond my ability to keep up with. And there's only so much time in a day. And I'm a person who people who know me and have been around the ministry for a while know that I don't require a lot of sleep. I can function really well on 4 hours of sleep. Not that that's all I get on every night, but I'm so I devote a lot of time, but there's only so much time. And it's very hard to be studying and working on new projects when you can't even get the emails or the phone calls answered or the orders filled. And then you have to think, okay, well, what's the most important thing to do today? Well, we got 15 orders waiting to be dealt with, and I can't very well ignore those. And I will say, for those people who are waiting for phone calls to be returned or emails to be answered, it weighs heavily on me. So these ministry tools that God has given us has surpassed my ability to manage them, and so it weighs heavily on me. My study time, my writing time, and to develop what I see is some key material for the future.
Well, that leads me in my next question. What can you tell us about your vision for the Study Bible project and why it's a priority for you?
I really appreciate, Steve, your interest in this. About 10 months ago, you came to visit, and we were sitting at a restaurant, and you asked me this really great question that I don't think anybody ever asked me before. You said, if money and time were no object, what would you do? And that was really an easy question to answer. If money were no object, I'd hire an assistant who could work with me and take care of these things that are absolutely necessary to be done in taking care of all these elements of ministry we just discussed. I sense in some ways, and Father teaches me patience about it and learning to accept where he has me right now. But in many ways, I see that what I fill my days with is maintaining my past ministry instead of, and I love everything I do. And so there's no lack of joy and contentment in that. But maintaining that ministry that God has given us up to this point is not where my full heart and passion is. I'd hire, if money were no object, I'd hire a personal assistant who could manage the office and manage all the things that I do, so that I could work on what's my heart's passion at this point in my life. You know, you reach a certain point in your life where, as we have in this ministry, where God has given us the answers, God has given me the answers to the things that I struggled with in the past. And I have a desire to get those out to people. I often think if I could sit down with people who are struggling and if we could just read through the scriptures together, if I could read through Ephesians together with someone one on one and just look at it, and Colossians and Philippians, and and the liberty that could be uh, received, would be enormous. I wish I had had someone like that, and who could have done that with me. And to me, a study Bible would be the key to I mean, I only have so many hours a day. I can't spend time with only so many people. But we could produce a study Bible that people could sit down and read through the scriptures and walk through these important truths that we hold as vital and dear. Now, what are these truths? The absolute sovereignty of God, the salvation of all, the reconciliation of God's entire universe, the essential character of God, which is love, and that he's Father, the correct partitioning of the word of truth, right division, understanding in any passage of scripture the context, who's speaking, who are they speaking to, and being able to distinguish things that differ, that Paul stressed so importantly to the Philippians. The accurate, literal translation of scripture. These are like the primary keystones over 50 years that have brought me peace and contentment and freedom and relaxation. And to produce a study Bible that focused on these key elements, I believe would have a lasting effect. Now, we have an example of that. We have an example of that in E.W. Bullinger. He produced what, as far as I would know and understand, the first study Bible. It's called the Companion Bible. Had a King James text. He had hoped to translate a literal text, but he didn't have enough time. And so he has a King James text with notes that would correct the text, as well as teach and instruct what the Greek or the Hebrew words said. Now, he had spent decades in ministry producing books and a Greek lexicon, a dictionary of Greek words, a book on the figures of speech in the Bible. He produced some monumental works in his life, and he published a periodical called Things to Come that had worldwide circulation, and he had correspondence with people all over the world. He had students all over the world. And someone came to him, a brother whose name was Bowker, his last name, and with this idea of, hey, you know what? Your ministry, you're not going to be around forever. You need to somehow digest all this material you have and get it in a way that people have easy access to it. And the idea was in a study Bible. And the effect of that study Bible on the truths that Bullinger understood at that place in his life, I don't believe there's any way we could overestimate the importance of the Companion Bible. Over 100 years later, I continually meet people who have been brought to us that the Companion Bible was a major factor 100 years later in how they began to see truths. And so historically, the influence of the Companion Bible, way more than Bullinger's periodical or all of Bullinger's books, the Companion Bible was a way to educate the saints and to have a lasting impact on the truths that he uncovered. And think about some of the people who were his students. Because I would say it's the key influence that we reap today. A. Enoch was one of his students. Vladimir Gelesnov was one of his students. In fact, that's how some of these people found out about each other. They found out about each other because they were mutually students of Bullinger and found each other through his magazine, through articles and communication that way. And the list goes on and on. Charles Welch was a student of Bullinger. Otis Sellers was a student of Bullinger. Tom Ballinger was a student of Bullinger. I mean, really, the list goes on and on. People that our readers, the readers of the Bible Students Notebook, would be familiar with, articles and authors. It would be amazing maybe to them to realize how many of them had been students of Bullinger. And then, of course, his lasting influence would have been in the Companion Bible. So if we're looking at finding ways to push this truth into the future, the absolute sovereignty of God, the salvation of all, God's true nature as love and a father, and correctly partitioning the word of truth and literal translation of the scriptures, some way to push these things into the future beyond us. Steve, you and I, we got everybody listening, we got an expiration date. And so how do we advance these truths into the future? I think a proven way is a study Bible. And here's the encouraging thing. I mean, when we're making this video, I'm 65 years old, and I think, it's easy to think to yourself, okay, this is daunting and overwhelming. No way I'm going to produce a study Bible. I'm 65 years old, But Bullinger started the Companion Bible when he was 70. And he didn't have any of the advanced technologies that we have today. He simply had the resources from his studies, and he began to compile them into the notes of the Companion. Now, he had help. Granted, he did. Sir Robert Anderson was a helper, but he was 68, I believe. Bowker was a great helper and financially supported this effort, and he was in his late 60s. So we got some old guys who are tackling this, and I'm so glad they did. I don't know where I would be. One of the first books that I came across as a young man that helped me immensely in my study of the scripture was the Companion Bible. And so we have an amazing testimony of success, not worldly success, but success in advancing the truth and proven method. And it seems to me it seems to me this would be the way to go. And my vision for that is that I would start with the epistles of the secret administration. Again, I don't know when my expiration date is, so let's get our current epistles, the ones that are for us today. Let's get them dealt with. So I'd start with like Ephesians and Colossians and the gateway epistle of Philippians, and I would produce a study Bible for that book, and that material would have literal translation. It would have alternate readings, studies of the Greek words, overview of the flow, and commentary on what Paul's making. And these would all be emphasizing the sovereignty of God, the salvation of all, God's true character and nature. It'd be a freedom translation, a freedom Bible, bringing people to freedom. And as I would get the verses done, they'd be in the BSN. And then once I'd get one book done, we'd just release it. Go ahead and release it. Release a Bible study on Ephesians, and study Bible on Colossians, study Bible on, and then expand out into Paul's other epistles, and expand out into the historical books of the Gospels and Acts, and just keep working, until our tour of duty was over, and then eventually began to, we can take Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians and put them together in one volume, and then put all Paul's epistles in one, and we just keep working to it's done. That is a passion of mine, but mostly a dream, because God's also just given us so much to do, more than we can already do, and response, and we're thrilled with that. And here's one thing, by the way, Bullinger, historically, he loved everything he was doing. He corresponded with people all over the world. He was huge into correspondence. And Bowker convinced him he needed to set everything else aside. He needed to stop everything he was doing and focus on this to get it done. And Bullinger reluctantly stopped everything else he was doing. Now, it didn't stop. Those things didn't stop. He's got somebody else to do them. And the primary man who did those was Charles Welch. Charles Welch was a young man. He stepped in and took over maintaining the current ministry, while Bullinger and Sir Robert Anderson, the old seasoned ones, advanced forward. What a genius plan of God. And from 10 months ago, when you started asking me these questions and talking to me, and you give me this great encouragement that this could actually be a reality, because the missing factor is finances. I obviously got the time if I don't have to do all this maintenance activity. And if I had a personal assistant who could take care of those and I could focus on the other, it would benefit all of us. I'd be the benefactor. The person assisting me would benefit. All of our readers and listeners and contributors would benefit, because they'd be getting this new material. And better yet, our children and grandchildren and great grandchildren and people in the future who are unrelated to us would be it's win-win-win. And you've encouraged me in this possibility.
It's been an honor to do so. So let's talk a little more about this assistant. What for responsibilities and duties do you see this person having and doing?
Well, just really everything that I currently do, pretty much. Um, because my window of what's most passion on my heart has really shrunk over the years and filled up with this maintenance aspect. And so, they'd oversee the the maintenance and oversight of the office. So office activities, uh, help oversee the Bible Student's Notebook, the daily email goodies, our literature. The stock has to be ordered and kept in. The orders have to be pulled and filled. There's correspondence, emails, phone calls. They'd just be doing all the, you know, we want to call it grunt work. It's glorious grunt work. I love it. you know, but in reality, it's something that a lot of people could do. But I have some things to do, and I say this humbly, that a lot of people couldn't do. And if I turned over, yeah, so yeah, it's now it's not the kind of thing where most of that couldn't be done remotely. It needs to be done right here, you know, and the stock and the orders and the office, and it needs to be done here. It needs to be an assistant who's beside me who will take care of these things and free up my time to be able to focus on this project. And looking back at the life of Bullinger, I got a head start on him. If my expiration date's anywhere close to his, I get a head start on him, and that's encouraging.
So how can they, if someone wants to partner with you on the study Bible and some other projects, what would that look like?
Well, it really, it really boils down to finances. You know, to be able to hire someone, even forget the study Bible project for a minute. Um, our key players, are getting closer to our expiration date. And if this work's going to move and continue, it's going to take somebody younger and somebody dedicated full time. I've worked full time for over 5 decades, and I'm going to need to be replaced even beyond this whole study Bible thing. And so it's going to take finance. It's going to take the money needed. Now we have had some gracious sacrificial giving, consistent giving. We have people who give to us every month. It's touching. It's humbling. I couldn't do what I've done these last 50 years without that kind of support. I've never had a salary. I just launched out on this passion of mine, and people have joined in with me. I can't even ever remember a time where I've even asked for anybody to help me financially. And God's just always, provided that. This situation is a little different because it's not about me personally. This is about this unknown person. People can't contribute to somebody they don't know about. So we're presenting this need because we need someone, and this person's out there. If this is going to come to fruition, it's because God's already got this person, and He's going to reveal this person. But we need some resources for this person, and so above and beyond all the faithful giving, we need a new generation of givers who will say, yes, I see the vision. I see the vision of moving and advancing these truths and the work that you're doing into the future, and your vision of a study Bible. I want to stand with you and in getting you some help. And you've helped me see that, that that's a real possibility, that people who are, I have people ask me all the time. I'm on the phone with them or something. They say, Clyde, what can I do to help you? Well, before this conversation I've been having with you for the last 10 months, I don't have an answer for them, because almost everything I need help with, somebody needs to be here with me. So I got people from all over the world might say, how can I help you? And again, I just don't even have an answer for that. But I'll tell you what, today I have an answer for them. How can I help you? I need some finances for an assistant that we can advance these truths, and these people who are waiting for communication, emails, phone calls, people who can be tutored and encouraged and pointed in the right direction, that I don't even have time for anymore. Just overwhelming, the response to this ministry, and they can help financially. So now I help, thanks to you, Steve, I know the answer to these questions that I get asked.
Well, everyone, thanks for taking the time to hear about Clyde's ministry and vision. And as he mentioned, one of the key ways we can take this work to the next level is by bringing on an assistant. So your support can help move Clyde's ministry and his vision for this new study Bible along, and it will free him up to work on those things, the studying and writing and sharing God's word. If you feel led to partner with us, you can give online at www.studyshelf.com or by mailing a check. All the details are in the comments below. And for me, this is what it's exciting. Remember, your involvement won't just impact what's happening today. It will make a difference for years to come. The work that we do together to reach people for, 10, 20, or maybe even 50 or 100 years from now, as we continue to spread this message of freedom and hope. So thank you for your consideration. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.